What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with the Infinity Edge podcast. Hef is back, but Ghost is not here right now. So the typical intro is gone forever because Alan is now a father. So for the loyal viewers and listeners, I guess, of this podcast / video series, we need a new idea for a nickname for Alan. It can incorporate him being a father. It could incorporate his son's name, which I'll let him do the whole spiel about that. Even though I think I already mentioned that your child's name before, but we'll forget that. I ever said that. And then before I turn it over to you, remember if you want to use the promo code IEDGE for the esportsdepartment.com subscription, you'll save 10%. And now we have a child that we have to support, so you better be using the promo code. So why would you not use the promo code? It's ridiculous that there are people out there not using the promo code. Honestly, I'm personally offended. Yeah. But that's enough for me, probably. That was way too aggressive. Alan, I'm sure you're much less aggressive now that you're a father, or have your animal instincts taken over and you just murder people?
No, I'm ready to protect all the time. No, I would imagine I'm still a pretty even keel. We're coming at you live from the nursery here. You can see the roll doll posters in the background. Yeah, I had a son 2 weeks ago, Otto, and things have been good. Excited to be back and talking some LCS and LEC because that's what life's all about, really.
Yeah, back into the important stuff. So we have an LEC and an LCS slate. We'll go through the LEC first. We do have projections for the LEC. We do not have them for the LCS. Before we move into the games, is that like a thing holding a bottle of beer or wine?
You apparently have never read The Big Friendly Giant. That's the fart juice that they drink, and it makes them float. They fart and they float or something. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Roald Dahl, but my wife is very into it, and so we got all kinds of stuff in here. It's pretty cute. He did a good job. Some of them are slightly creepy though, but he can't even see our faces yet, so it doesn't really.
Well, that's fine. As long as I'm getting enjoyment out of it, that's all that really matters.
Exactly. So as long as Mom and I
me specifically.
Yeah.
But that's fine. So let's get into the LEC. So in the first match on oddsportal.com, we have Schalke against SK Gaming. Do you want to do blue side, red side like we were doing last time? And we'll go down the list like that?
Yeah.
All right, which side do you want, blue side or red side?
On this game, couldn't give less of a shit.
Then I will be taking blue side for all of them.
Sounds like a plan. I'll take the old red side. Go ahead and give us your blue side case.
All right, so we have Schalke, and actually this screen's going to go on and off the entire time, which might get annoying, but you kind of just have to deal with it. So Schalke beat Fnatic last week. Schalke lost to Astralis last week. In their match against Fnatic, they played a Kindred composition, which is pretty cool. Kindred plus Galio is a really nice combination. And just because it's the first game of the day, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the meta implications of, the draft and meta implications of AD carry right now. There are a ton of different junglers that are viable depending on your team composition and how you're approaching the early game. I think we're getting into a spot where the AD carry meta is really deciding, the laning phase for AD carries is being decided by the draft almost every single time, because you have some extremely early game champions like Kalista and Varus that are being played, and then you also have champions that scale better like Jinx, Kog'Maw, Aphelios. Tristan is kind of a hybrid, you can play her hyper aggressive or you can try to be a hyper carry on her, so she's more of a flexible champion. I think that when you have teams that are actively giving up Varus It's basically them saying that they are willing to try to outscale you, and they're probably going to concede a lot of stuff around the map. So that is somewhat concerning for me. Schalke obviously plays Varus. Neon had 5-1-8 against Fnatic, which is a nice score. And then in their match against Astralis banned Varus. So there are other people out there thinking that there's like a high priority on Varus. And it's like what we saw last time that Varus was super popular. The problem is he's just so annoying to play against because like the poke damage and everything. Just a really, like, I guess one specific application is like, okay, we're going to a dragon fight 30 seconds from now. Varus is standing in the mid lane trying to farm out a wave, lands an empowered Q on your mid laner. Now your mid laner has 50% health. How are you going to contest the dragon now? Like, you can contest it, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. That does mean that other teams can kind of outscale, but ultimately we want our teams playing Varus because that's just like the better side. So in this spot, Schalke against SK, I'm obviously on the Schalke side because I picked the blue side, but I'm also on the Schalke side because I fucking hate SK Gaming. SK Gaming is absolute trash for how they did my boy tanks. They lost 12-1 to Rogue, and they lost 21-6 to Fnatic. So feels bad, man. If you're SK Gaming,
feels bad, man.
That's basically it. I think people probably expected that. So
yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna pretty much cop out on the first one here. I don't want to make the case for SK. I think they're really bad. I don't really see how they win games the rest of the split. If you think that SK is going to win this game, I suppose you're probably going to get a pretty big ownership discount on them because they have been awful, as discussed. But even if they win, I don't even think Schalke is a good team to play against in DraftKings. So I would not play SK. I probably wouldn't play Schalke either, to be honest. Schalke is kind of a slower team, generally speaking. And then SK is so bad that like they're not going to have to skirmish a lot would be my expectation for the game, and I'm guessing the projections kind of bear that out as well.
Yeah, stylistically it seems like it's going to be a bad spot. Blue is actually pretty high, 35 in a win, which is all we really care about.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Oh, this is saying that SK is projected higher in a win because of SK because of Schalke. SK
that makes sense, right? Yeah. Because like
not really.
Schalke would have. To me, that would make sense because I would think that if SK wins, it's like on late game team fight.
Well,
coin flip
I
sort
think,
of scenarios.
I think the narrative or the storyline that you have to convince yourself of to play SK Gaming is like Schalke drafts Varus and an early game team composition, but gives up a stupid gold lead in the early part of the game where like a Kog'Maw, a Felios can actually just be extremely powerful the entire game, or is just given a free early game, and then what you're saying, like the team with the early game team composition feels like they have to press to keep the game close. So yeah, I can kind of get why they would do that, but again, we kind of agree that Schalke is not really the best team to play against to begin with. So they're going to be super low owned, but if you don't want to play SK Gaming or Schalke, I totally understand.
Yeah, I think Schalke will probably be like 10% ish. Would be my estimation, just because they're playing SK, who's the worst team in the league. So that seems to always get enough ownership that I'm like, if it's a bad spot, I don't want to play it.
Yeah, the team spot should be good. I'm gonna get the salaries up on my phone.
Yeah, I could see the team spot being like a filler if it helps you get your lineups with like some of the later games.
Because they're probably expensive. Schalke is the fifth highest team, so 5,000. That's not that bad. So if you can do a 4-2-1 where you come off of like some other favorite team and you just have to drop down a couple $100 to go to Schalke, I think that could work out. So that's really the main thing I would consider from this. The other thing, which is impossible to predict, is has SK Gaming got to the point where they're just like, screw it, play hyper aggressive every single game, see what we can do. And in that scenario, maybe they're just playing more bloody games from now on. But that there's no reason to think that that's going to happen. So yeah, I just don't love this spot. Let's go to the next game. So XL against Mad Lions. So XL last week beat G2 and beat Vitality. They also... Wait, no, that wasn't them. Yeah, XL beat G2 and beat Vitality. So in their matchup against G2...
Yeah.
Yes. In their matchup against...
Yeah, they brought in... Go ahead.
No, you go. I thought you were just...
Well, they brought in like a couple subs, right? And so like...
Yeah.
No longer having Dan on the team seems to be a helpful thing.
Yeah, I love, right after it happened and they won the match, I was like instantly tagged in something saying like, oh yeah, if only we didn't think that Dan was not an LEC jungler this whole time.
Yeah.
But with XL, this is a spot where their ownership is going to be extremely low because of their competition. Even coming off of 2 wins, like, I couldn't see XL getting above 8%, 7 or 8%. It's going to be a bloody match against Mad Lions, so I think it is a good spot for them. But their chances to win just seem so low. So like, you have to convince yourself that if they win, every time they win will be very bloody. So like, instead of it being like their implied win percentage divided by 5, it would have to be like their implied win percentage, period. Like, oh, they have a 10% chance to win? All right, go ahead. We'll take all of that, please. Which is just, that's pretty insane to do something like that. In their match against G2, they had Renekton and Volibear, LeBlanc, Aphelios, Thresh. Not a team composition that I love. I think that Volibear is not very good right now in the jungle because there aren't many good matchups for Volibear, but G2 played Lee Sin into it, which Lee Sin is just a strong champion overall, but in a matchup against Volibear, just not great. There were not really many real tanks in this match, so like Renekton and Volibear are pseudo tanks, not real tanks. Thresh is same thing. Leona is a legit tank, but she's still a support, so she doesn't have as much gold to become super tanky. It's just a very easy team composition, it looks like, for Aphelios to melt down. I still would expect G2 to win that match, but G2 has not been playing very well. And then in their match against Vitality, Patrick went off as Draven. So this is an interesting thing for XL. If we're right, and Varus is extremely powerful right now, the fact that they feel comfortable playing Draven into it because he's an even stronger early game champion that just like snowballs out of control. Teams that play Draven could be in a really good spot against Ezreal, against Kai'Sa, against Varus. So maybe that is something that will just be very good, like a very good edge moving forward. So I don't like XL much better than their implied win percentage divided by 5, which would be 270. They're like plus 270, so 25 divided by 5. So if you want to play them 5%, I kind of get that. But in order to double the field, can you play them 10%, 15%, 20%? It seems pretty thin. But that's an interesting spot. I mean, Mad Lions has looked pretty good, but let's hear what you have to say about Mad Lions before I see if I can justify playing XL or not.
Yeah, so I think I would like to talk about that as well, so we'll come back to that. But I mean, I think it's going to be a good spot for Mad Lions. Like always, pretty much, Mad Lions is a very bloody team that has heavy skirmishes, and typically we would have thought of XL as not a good team to play against. And I think that a lot of people think of them that way because, like, I mean, that's how the broadcast talks about them and all that stuff. But with the subs, you saw there they had the 15 kill win and then the 22 kill win, and that game against Vitality was particularly skirmish heavy. It feels like having Marcoon in the lineup instead of Dan, to me, has made the team willing to skirmish more, take more risks, try to win the game, actually. So that makes Mad Lions an even better play to me. I think they're obviously going to be decently owned, although G2 is playing Astralis, and then that Vitality Fnatic game is probably going to get quite a bit of ownership. So I could see Mad Lions ending up like the third most owned team, possibly. And in that case, then I would love, all the Mad Lions. I certainly would want to hedge with Excel as well, because I think what you were talking about is smart. I think that, regardless of uh, of what you think of the narratives or whatever, they did go 2-0 with like a humongous goal difference last week with their new lineup against two teams that we think are probably in the upper half of the LEC at least, obviously. So I think that they are much improved, and so I think playing both sides of this match makes sense. I think like a 30% clip of Mad Lions and maybe a 10% clip of XL is the way to go here.
Yeah, I think you probably, if you want to do Mad Lions and XL as big parts of your lineup exposure, you probably want to get closer to 40%, but something like that, 30 or 40%. The thing with Mad Lions last week is they were in like the absolute dream spot against Misfits, and a lot of people didn't really want to play them against Misfits, and Misfits was like 40% owned against Mad Lions. It was just outrageous. And then Mad Lions in their next match after beating Misfits, where everybody's like, oh, well, we thought Misfits was really good, but I guess Mad Lions is really good, and they're playing Rogue, so just everybody play Mad Lions now. And it's like, it's just so easy to see how it's going to play out sometimes. Like, obviously, they have to go out and play the actual game, so I'm not pretending like we can predict this, but that was such an easy fade of Mad Lions the following slate.
Yeah.
In that regard, I think that you probably will see them a little bit lower owned than you'd expect because of what you were saying about the perceptions of Excel when they're losing, and because like people were against them on Saturday, got burned, on them on Sunday, got burned. Maybe that depresses the ownership a little bit and keeps them in like the high teens. But that's basically it. Let's see. Mad Lions. XL is very highly projected.
Yeah.
They still have Nuke
sense.
Duck, so that does concern me. And then Mad Lions, I think that's a spot where the projections on Mad Lions are probably low because of the look back period of stats. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
If a lot of people are depending on like projections and optimizers for their lineups tomorrow, maybe just Mad is completely underowned.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mad Lions is probably my favorite play for the LEC tomorrow.
Word. Let's go into the next match. Vitality against Fnatic. Vitality are plus 135. They lost to Astralis, which was, I think that was a spot that I mentioned as like Astralis generally has some of these weird performances where they play really well against good teams, but Vitality just, they haven't looked great. We've talked a little bit about I think I don't know if you were on this one when I was doing like the solo pods, but with Vitality it's like they just don't seem to fit together. Like they need to have a better top laner and mid laner combination so that Selfmade can kind of play aggressively. Leaders champion pool should be able to help Selfmade do that, but SLT just really underperformed, and they took out SLT. They're bringing back Jigenda, which I'm surprised they made that move to begin with because he was a solid contributor when he was playing for them. I just didn't... I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. Like, they're both kind of just another guy, but at least we've seen good performances from Jigenda, so maybe that does bring back some good stuff for Vitality. It is a spot that I would definitely want to play Vitality. Fnatic is coming off of a loss to Schalke and a victory over SK Gaming that was actually pretty bloody. They always carry ownership, so it's not like you're going to be able to avoid their ownership really. They're probably going to be in the 20s. Vitality against Fnatic was very bloody the first time, right? That was like week 1.
Yeah, I kind of remember it being bloody, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I think Fnatic won that that first matchup with them. Talent-wise, they're pretty similar teams. I think Fnatic is slightly better from a talent perspective. Like, Adam is better than Jigenda and SLT. Selfmade's a better jungler than Bwipo, but they're both very good players. Niski against Leader. I hate Niski. Niski's probably better than Leader. Upset and Hylissang against Crownshot and Labrov. That's probably even. So there's not much separating the teams outside of like how they've approached the meta. Fnatic gave up Varus in one game, and then let's see if they picked at the other one. No, they played Kai'Sa against Tristana. So I mean that's basically it. It just comes down to, are you playing against the Fnatic ownership, which is always very high. I think that's a good enough reason for me to play Vitality.
Yeah. So on the Fnatic side, I was just looking at the Oracle's Elixir stats for the LEC, and Fnatic, they're only 6-3. It feels like they're better than that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And their gold spent percentage differential is 10%, which is typical of a team that's like undefeated, I would say, typically. And so I think the Fnatic's just been really, really good this year, and actually probably should have won more games than they have so far. It's interesting too because their gold stats are so much better than just like kill to death and all of that stuff, which tells you they're generating leads probably in lane a lot, in jungle camps and all that stuff, which I think is pretty indicative of good teams too. Obviously, you can also glean all of that from just watching them play. And so I think like Fnatic's the best team in the LEC, and it's a decent enough spot to play them against Vitality. Vitality is kind of a weird team, I think, as far as like explosiveness in bloodiness. They have some games where it's super bloody, and then they have some games where they seem to try to take it slow and try and win in a macro style game. I don't think you can ever do that against Fnatic, really, so that doesn't scare me off too much. The only downside to Fnatic is obviously they're going to be very highly owned tomorrow, I would guess. I think a lot of people think that they're the best team in the league right now too, and it's a good matchup. It's good. They're the favorite in the game, so I'm guessing they're like 30 to 40%. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I could see high 20s or 30. I could see them getting
Yeah.
that. I think that the fact that they're up against Vitality makes some people think that they do have a realistic chance to lose the game. So like if it's 60% divided by 5, they'll get over that. They'll get over 15% for sure. But
Yeah.
that's because they're Fnatic. I don't know if I think they're the best team, but they're definitely one of the best teams, and I think that's already a good outcome for them on the season. Because I do agree that they feel like one of the better teams for sure.
Playing the best so far would be what I would say. I think Rogue's close. I'd put them up there as well. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good enough spot that like you probably try to match the field on Fnatic. That's going to probably be tough to do salary wise, but like that Excel stuff that we were talking about, like playing Excel with Fnatic sounds pretty good to me. If you can play Fnatic with Mad Lions, maybe, although I'm guessing that the only thing available there is probably like a top captain, and that's going to be hard to win, I think, on this particular slate. So I think Fnatic with some dogs is probably the way I would go.
Sure. The one thing about that stat you were mentioning that I haven't really put much thought into it before, but the funny thing about gold spent differential is that there is so much gold that is accumulated at the end of the game that isn't spent. So like a statistic like the 10 like that type of statistic of gold spent means that in the fight before the game-winning fight, they already had a 10% gold lead over the enemy, which in a lot of these games, if it's like 35, 40, 50,000 total team gold, you're looking at like between 3 to 5,000 gold lead. And generally, like the way that I look at it is you need to get to that 2,000 gold threshold to win that fight that allows you to have that 3 to 5,000 gold spent differential.
Hmm.
So that's a good one because it means like they were probably like so dominant in that win that they want to fight. They're like, okay, well we don't need to try to end the game. We'll just win the next one too, and then
Yeah.
run down mid and just end it. Which is that's what you want from your team. That's like it's kind of like a dominator rating, you know, where like we want the dominant teams. So do you have that? Could you look up that stat for the other team, like the rankings for all of the teams in the LEC, while I preview the
Yeah,
next
for
one?
sure.
All right.
Yep.
So let's and don't tell me what it is. We'll do some guesswork on it, and we'll try to figure out
Okay.
what we think about that.
Yeah, I
Um.
like that.
So next up, we have Rogue and Misfits. Rogue is minus 204. Misfits plus 156. Last week was very strange for Misfits supporters like us because we had to tell the people, yes, Misfits is good, but like Mad Lions is still better than them. And then going into
Yeah.
Sunday, it's like, yeah, up against G2, you know, we do think that Misfits is a competitive team, but I'd still rather have G2. Like, I still like G2 more than Misfits, even though they've been playing like garbage, and I still like Mad Lions and Rogue more than Misfits. Misfits against Fnatic is probably where I like Misfits more than Fnatic. Like long term, actually maybe not long term, but like that's a DFS spot that I would actively go to like every time they match up against each other.
Yeah.
But they should have lost this game against G2. This game, G2 had like a dominant gold lead, I think, and they just completely they lost. They lost the game with a 5,000 gold lead, and I think they also had like some kind of soul. I think they got some dragon soul in this, or they gave up Elder Dragon.
Yeah.
That's what happened. They gave up Elder, and then they fought them anyways. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was so bad. I couldn't believe that they ended too. I thought that they would have more time. That was a crazy game.
Yeah. In reality, I mean, people probably feel like after playing Misfits twice last weekend that, you know, they're just super disappointed. I think that will depress the ownership a little bit. I don't think that they match up very well against Rogue stylistically. Rogue, in my mind, and this is kind of like not provable, but they just are generally, in my mind, a no-nonsense team. If they draft a better early game than you, then you'll never be able to fight them because they're good enough to carve out that early lead. And then, like, they're a team where I would assume they have, like, some kind of crazy gold spent differential as well. And then they did draft Varus in their first match, and they drafted Callista in their other match. So they're drafting these early game 80 carries where they can play to their own tempo. It's not that they need to play fast or slow. They can just play the game the right way, and it'll ultimately get into a good spot. Because if you index too much into early game or too much into late game, if you're late game, then you need to give up the early game altogether. You can't play aggressively. You don't have tempo. You don't have the initiative or anything like that. If you draft too much in the early game, it wants you to play aggressive. And if you're playing the right way and playing aggressive, going after every advantage you can, you're not going to get those negative benefits unless at some point in the game you make some kind of tremendous mistake that allows the other team to actually outscale you. So the fact that Hansama is a very good Varus, very good Callista, and a very, very, very good Draven, that is a spot where I think that the other team's winning chances are very low. And then you need to ask yourself, will Misfits give up enough kills will Misfits force Rogue to kill them 20 times to give you the slate winning upside? And I think they probably would, but I could also see Misfits going like, we'll just outscale them, and then never outscale them. So that's kind of concerning.
Agreed. Yeah, so what you were saying about the gold spent, that's typically very true of Rogue. They typically lead the league in gold spent. This year they've been, this split, they've been slightly less. I mean, they're still second in the league with like a 5% GSPD, which is pretty low for them. Like, usually they're pushing 10%, and I would expect to get back up there by the end of the split. What the thing you were talking about here, I was just looking at the stats too while you were talking. Like, Rogue has the best early game rating. It's what they make on Oracle's Elixir, which kind of takes into account like gold lead and objective leads and that stuff. In the league by 10 points, 12 points, which is pretty huge. And then Misfits is bottom half of the league there because Misfits has really won their games by doing the late game team fight sort of look. I mean, they do skirmish in the early game, but most of their like winning comes from late game team fight stuff. So I think that Misfits is probably the better DraftKings play to me. I know that the projections kind of like Rogue. I find that kind of hard to think about because like I think that Rogue probably just plays Callisto or Varus in this game, and like it's possible that Misfits just like keeps going down to the bot lane and beats their asses off. Like that is definitely an outcome that I could see. But to me, it's more likely that Misfits just or that Rogue just gets ahead through the bot lane and then get in a low kill sort of game. So if Misfits is going to win, I think that it's probably the scenario that you're talking about, where like Rogue gets their patented early game sort of comp and they get a lead, and then Misfits brings it back through some mid and late game team fights, which I think would obviously be pretty good for DraftKings scoring in that case. So I could see you justifying playing some Misfits here. I definitely prefer Rogue. I think they're honestly just a better team, sadly, than our babies. But I don't.
Is it
I
different
wanna...
saying our babies when now you actually have a baby?
No, not at all. I love them all equally. No, but I think this game probably ends up mostly just a fade spot for me because it's hard for me to play against Misfits in a mental sense, and that's the play that makes more sense to me, I think.
So the first time these two teams played, this was the Fiddlesticks game where Misfits actually had a lead. Misfits was looking like they wanted to help me take down some kind of tournament, and then they're like, haha, just kidding. Here's Fiddlesticks.
It was a joke.
Yeah. So it was a Draven game too for Han Sama. So so Misfits showed that they could kind of weather the early game storm of Draven, and that's a good thing for them. I still do prefer the Rogue side. I don't think that I would play Misfits tomorrow. That's basically it. Next up, G2.
Yeah, what do you think about ownership, real quick? Like, is Misfits like 10%? Because if that's the case, I don't want any part of them.
Yeah, I think both teams are about 10 to 12%.
Yeah,
most people have difficulty.
No thanks.
Most people have difficulty getting Rogue up into high ownership percentages to begin with.
That could be a way. Yeah, that could be a way to go if you believe that the game gets bloody. I don't really believe that the game gets bloody.
Yeah, so if you want to play 25% Rogue or something like that to double the field, I could see that. And then the last match is G2 against Astralis. This is a spot where if you believe that G2 sucks now, then you play Astralis. If you think that G2 is good now, you play Astralis anyways as a hedge. So I think that their ownership will be probably surprisingly high. I would just prefer the G2 side, play the G2 side. Don't think about it too much. There's no way I just can't see this being the end of G2, just based off of how these performances have been going recently. Ultimately, like, could you imagine G2 missing Worlds? Like, that'd be... They can miss Worlds, right? If they do bad enough? Yeah, in summer. So if I'm G2 and they lose one or two matches this week, I think you have to call Vitality, say, we'll give you whatever you want for Selfmade, bring in Selfmade, get rid of Jankos, and then you are the best team in Europe.
Yeah, Jankos is really... I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, I think it's like meta sort of stuff, and then maybe he's just lost the fastball, as they say. But yeah, I mean, at this point, like, you got to go down with the ship with G2. Like, G2 has to win this game, basically. And they're playing a team that's a lot worse than them. That's good for DraftKings scoring. So, like, are they going to be the highest owned team? Probably. But does that mean that you should probably still try to match or go over the field on them? Probably as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think that G2 is the second favorite for me to Mad Lions on the slate. I wouldn't play them together because I don't think they're like that kind of lineup construction is probably going to win here.
So who's your favorite and your favorite dog?
I think it's probably from the same game. It's my favorite is Mad Lions. My favorite dog is Excel, just because like I think the game is set up for a nice kill score, and I think that you could win with either team.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for the LEC. I don't think we have projections for the next one, but we do have the money lines. So game 1, we have Team Tissum against Counter Logic Gaming. Let's see. Last week, TSM lost to Dignitas, beat Immortals, and beat Cloud9. CLG lost to Golden Guardians, yeah. Then they lost to Evil Geniuses, which is forgivable, and then they lost to 100 Thieves. So I think the week before they went 3-0, right? Or they had a good week and then they come back and they do another 0-3. Feels bad. I
think it was 2 weeks ago that they had the 3-0.
I mentioned this last week. Like, TSM is always the team where I think they can beat anyone and I think they can lose to anyone. Like, they're just so... They play to the level of their opponent. They don't really have, like, a consistent go-to drafting strategy that's good against everybody. They kind of just, have a new idea, want to play it, and they kind of go for it, which is pretty horrible in my opinion. Like, a pretty horrible process to have. So, in their match against Dig, they went with the Callista. I don't like Callista right now. I don't like putting yourself on a short range 80 carry that needs to dominate the early game in order to win, in order to snowball. Like, they have Callista, who could fall off a cliff. They have LeBlanc, who is a burst mage. Like, yes, you do see dominant performances from LeBlanc sometimes if they are successfully snowballing, but it's just not reliable. Like, if you're losing, then you turn into a match where you're trying to get picks, where it's not an easy way to play the game if the other team has a brain. And then Lee Sin, good champion, but overrated as a jungler right now, probably. And then Nar's a good champion. And then we had Lee Sin as a flex pick. Speak on Diana. This is a fun team composition. You have a bunch of people diving in with the Kaisa. That makes a lot of sense. And then you had TSM against C9. Another Callista match. They got ahead of the team that's supposed to outscale them, and they just didn't give back the game. So this is a spot where, like, stylistically, C9 was trying to accomplish something different, and just they weren't able to do it. Oh, it's him. What's up, Ghost?
Going on.
Nice.
Has arrived. He's ready for the LCS.
The boys are back.
We just started LCS. The boys are back.
So we're just talking about TSM and CLG. So CLG, they had a loss against Golden Guardians. They played Callista and lost. They played Kaisa. They lost that one. And they played Callista and they lost that one. So they are kind of still going for the earlier game stuff. What's going on with Varus? Like, why are none of these teams picking Varus? I think that'll change. I think we saw a lot of Varus in LPL, LCK over the past couple days, and I think that Wild Turtle will probably be put on Varus duty. And if CLG gets Varus, that is exactly what I want to see, because it's like, oh, TSM drafts some kind of, like, later game team composition that does make sense, but they just play stupid in the early game, get completely dominated by a Varus game. By Wild Turtle, and then I have to listen to people talking about how Wild Turtle's good when he's horrible. So that's my nightmare. That's basically what I see. I do want to play TSM, and then I do see the outs there for CLG. So you probably want to play both sides, which is fine.
Interesting. I think that I'm kind of the exact opposite. Like, I don't think that this game gets me excited in any way. Like TSM, even though the narrative is super easy that TSM just plays low kill games, it's also just true. They have basically played the lowest kill games on every slate, except the game they lost to Dignitas. Dignitas got a decent amount of kills, right? I can't
Yeah.
remember. Do you have it there? Yeah, yeah. So that might be reason enough to play CLG because CLG's
Oh,
ownership's
actually,
going to
no.
be.
Dig had 11.
Oh, never mind. All right. Well then, there goes that as well. So yeah, I think the game ends up just a full fade for me. I think that TSM just overwhelms CLG talent wise, and I it's difficult for me to want to play the Wild Turtle team generally. So I don't really want to play CLG, and then TSM. Uh, there's a bunch of really big favorites on this slate, and TSM's probably not the one that I would play.
All right.
All right. Well, I showed up just in time to talk about my boys, Cloud9, going up against a very fragile FlyQuest from what I've been seeing. It looks like they have abandoned all hope, even more so than the beginning of the year, and are starting their entire academy roster.
Are they really?
So,
They're not keeping
yeah.
Jose Deodo in?
No.
No, the entire academy roster is coming in for this one.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Except like Diamond is playing, but I guess Diamond was technically on the academy
Yeah.
before this game. Yeah.
Jesus.
So, since Michael sounds very excited about this move, we're going to throw it over to you first. Cloud9
Oh my
versus FlyQuest.
God.
Who do you got here?
I'm trying to find this on Twitter because I could have yeah, okay, so they said okay, LCS roster for week 6, Kumo, NXI, triple Tomo Diamond. Wow. That is so insane to me.
Yeah, an entire swap.
That is so insane. Our academy roster is in excellent form, and we believe they deserve the right to play on stage. I mean, I like that's fine, like, but don't say like they're on excellent form. They can beat like don't try to make it sound like they can beat anybody. Like if they beat C9, it'll be because C9 plays like trash. It's not going to be because FlyQuest has an amazing academy roster. This is the only thing you need to know about this spot is that FlyQuest is playing. And also C9 is playing, and C9 has looked bad recently. People are probably a little bit afraid to play them, so you just play them. You don't have to think about it any more than that. From now on, when these teams start making crazy roster moves, like getting rid of Licorice or benching their entire starting roster, it's going to be an instant, like, I'm playing the other team because I hate the organization. Are there reasons to play the team that's playing an academy roster? Yes. I mean, they should be super low owned, and that probably is the big brain play is that you're making the hand motion for. So like I get it. If you want to do it, then go ahead. But if I lose a DraftKings slate because they win, then I don't care. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And on top of it, Licorice also has moved to the Golden Guardians in that announcement from them bringing over their academy roster.
Oh yeah, forgot that too.
So we'll be Kumo in the top lane for everyone who wants to throw in some FlyQuest lineups this weekend. But we'll throw it over to you, Alan. What's your thoughts on this one? Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. Is it just Cloud9 all the way?
I mean, it's rare that you get a chance in League of Legends DFS to go.
Is there a fly trying to kill you? What's going on over there?
It's just a goddamn mosquito.
Oh my god!
I'm trying to play it cool, but he's hearing me talk about FlyQuest, and he's just pissed.
I'm a mosquito, goddammit.
Yeah, so it's rare that in League of Legends DFS you get a chance to play something as galaxy brained as playing the Academy lineup against the team that won the split. It seems pretty hard. The only way that you could convince yourself that FlyQuest has a chance is like Cloud9's completely unprepared for what these guys play, but I'm guessing they just play, stock standard stuff. And so that's not even really an angle. I haven't looked too hard into it. I've been busy with some other activities the last few days. But yeah, I think it's just the Cloud9 spot. I think you're play Cloud9 in whatever way you can. I think that they probably fit decently well with Evil Geniuses. I don't know if the salaries are out yet. When we started, we were
Nope.
not. They were not. But
No.
okay, so if they fit with like the Evil Genius game, I would want that for sure. Cloud9 Evil Geniuses stacks. This is a tough slate. It looks like. I mean, there's some really big favorites here.
Yeah, I assume with Cloud9 maybe Cloud9 or TSM are the highest priced. Oh, even 100 Thieves in our next matchup, which we'll get to later. For a person who's been gone for a couple weeks, Cloud9, Sven's back, right? Like we're done fucking around with C9.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure on that one. Didn't think that any other crazy decisions were being made. But we'll move on to our third matchup for Friday. We have the Golden Guardians at 5-10 on the summer? Goddamn. Versus the 100 Thieves, 13-2. This seems like a smash 100 Thieves spot. Throw it over to you, Alan, on this one. Who are you taking? What do you like in this matchup?
To smash 100 Thieves. Like, I know that 100 Thieves is 13-2. That's probably a little kind to them, but they're really freaking good. And Golden Guardians is really freaking bad. So there's not too much else to say here. I think the question you want to ask yourself is like, do I believe that this game could get there DFS wise, and can you combine them with good enough teams that you're excited about the lineups that you can make? Because I'm sure that 100 Thieves has to be the most expensive, and I'm guessing you cannot play them with Cloud9 basically at all, and then you'd probably even have to get down to like jungle top captain with the Immortals Evil Geniuses game would be my guess. So it probably just ends up being a spot that I don't play very much of the game on. I think that this slate to me looks like something that I would if I were making the Oregon Degen trip, I would try and just limit exposure to this particular slate. To be honest, I would probably just play like 1 to 5 lineups in GPPs.
All right, Michael, we'll throw it over to you on your thoughts on this one. Golden Guardians versus 100 Thieves. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I wanted to be able to say that Golden Guardians was in an interesting spot, bringing in Licorice, and I do think that he's better than Solo, but I know there are a lot of Solo truthers out there who think that this is just a side grade, but I think that it is an upgrade. I was the way that I would have been able to convince myself to play Golden Guardians was if I saw them placing some high priority on Varus, because I think that you could get into a spot where they play well enough in the early game and carve out a big enough lead to stay ahead and get a bloody game. So if you wanted to play them at 2% or 4%, I could see that. You're not lighting that much money on fire. But then at the same time, that narrative actually hitting would make me kind of nauseous, where they're like, oh, Licorice is here, he's going to turn around everything for Golden Guardians. That would really annoy me. So I think I'd rather just, hope that 100 Thieves wins. And 100 Thieves does put a high priority on Varus, so I think that it's unlikely that we see Golden Guardians getting it tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. We'll move on to our next matchup. Fourth one on the day, we have Immortals 8-7 versus Evil Geniuses, also 8-7 on the summer split. I did not foresee this happening to where Immortals and EG would be tied for the summer split. But we'll start with you, Michael, on this one. EG versus Immortals. What's been going on with these teams the past couple weeks, and what are you doing?
So last week, Evil Geniuses beat FlyQuest, beat CLG, and beat Golden Guardians. Yeah. So they went 3-0, which means this is a spot where they're probably overvalued because everybody's like, oh man, I keep making these Evil Geniuses lineups and they keep doing really well. I'm not an Immortals fan. I think everybody knows that by now. They lost to Cloud9, they lost to TSM, and they beat Dignitas in a pretty bloody match. I do prefer the Evil Geniuses side as a team. But I think from what I just said, I could easily see myself playing Immortals tomorrow. Immortals is an underdog at plus 108, which is going to help get you some salary savings that you need to play them with the other favorites that are out there. So I think that I guess you probably want exposure to both sides. Seeing that this is a matchup makes me like the TSM CLG match less. So maybe I would just try to avoid that game and get more of both sides of this one.
Okay, we'll move on to you, Alan, on this one. Immortals versus Evil Geniuses. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I think in the context that I was talking about, like playing 1 to 5 lineups, I think that I would just go 100% Evil Geniuses here. I have my doubts that people like playing Evil Geniuses that much, even off of a 3-0, especially when they're favorites. For some reason, I feel like the DFS community has caught on to the fact that Evil Geniuses as a favorite seems to always disappoint, and so they always come in less owned than I think they will be when they're pretty big faves. So I think that it's a great Evil Geniuses spot. They're a pretty explosive team. I think that this sets up to be like a close back and forth kind of game with, lots of kills and probably like a Baron fight that ends the game. And so I would just all in on the Evil Geniuses side. They're going to fit well with Cloud9, who I think are my favorite play. That probably makes them slightly chalkier. I think that both sides of this game probably end up, 15-ish%. So I would just choose one and kind of all in it personally.
All right, we're gonna head on to our 5th and final match for Friday. Dignitas at 6-9 versus Team Liquid 8-7. I'm pretty sure Michael's still on his warpath of Dignitas for benching Dardoch and then getting rid of him. So we're gonna start with Alan on this one. I'll let Michael get his thoughts together on his rant against Dignitas because I know it's coming. Dig 6-9, Team Liquid 8-7. Alan, what are you doing with this matchup?
Who's playing in this game? Can you guys give me a rundown of the lineups? Because there's been so many goddamn changes that I really don't even know. So top lane, we got Fake God against Jenkins.
I don't know. I don't know who's playing.
Okay, so that's a question mark for sure. Okay, jungle, we got Acadian for sure, correct?
I think so.
Against Armeo.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe they just signed Jose Dodo next day.
Yeah, Jesus. All right, mid lane we got Jensen against Yasui.
Yeah, should be Yasui.
Okay. All right, so let's just end the conversation right there. Jensen is playing against Yasui. You should play Team Liquid. If you're going to play a side here, you're going to play Team Liquid. I think that Dignitas has actually been kind of decent to play against from a DFS perspective this year. I would be interested to see what the esports department projections think about Team Liquid. I also think that Team Liquid's shed the extremely macro-heavy low kill thing this split with some of the changes, especially with Armeo playing mostly like team fighting junglers like the Sejuani. I'm sure he'll play the Trundle. I'm sure he'll play Volibear. Seems like he's more of kind of like the utility kind of guy, which typically leads to higher kill environments in my opinion, because there's more ganking and there's just more team fight because he's setting up for the carries. So I think that it's a great Team Liquid spot. I think the Team Liquid is always under-owned generally for their winning chances. I think that Team Liquid's record is not indicative of how good they are, although obviously they're playing inferior players at the moment because of issues that we've discussed ad nauseum on here. But I would play a lot of Team Liquid. I would mix Team Liquid with Cloud9 if it's possible. I would mix Team Liquid with Evil Geniuses, and then play Cloud9 with Evil Geniuses, and that would probably be the entirety of my exposure to LCS.
Yeah, it looks like Dokla is playing in the Academy game that's going on right now, so even we can't get a hint on there from the Team Liquid top laner. But Michael, I'm letting you loose. Give us the Dignitas hate. What are you doing with this matchup? Team Liquid versus Dignitas. Let's hear it.
I mean, I've had so many opportunities over the past couple of shows to just go on unhinged rants against Dignitas that I don't think I really need to subject everyone to that again. I feel very similar to the Mosquito who is constantly trying to attack Hef. That's me lurking after Dignitas and reveling in every loss that they have. Just waiting to suck more blood out of their corpse. Not that you're a corpse, because you're not. You're a human. But I hate.
Thank you.
I hate Dignitas. I hate everything about them. I agree that it's a good Team Liquid spot. I agree that Dignitas is a good loser to go up against. So it's super easy. I agree with Alan's take there on that. Definitely a great Team Liquid spot. Just need to see how all the salaries line up to figure out how much exposure you're going to have to them. That's basically it. My rage has somewhat subdued in volume, but has grown in temperature, if that makes any sense. Has risen in temperature.
It does not.
More hatred, just quieter hatred.
More internal. You're holding it in.
No, just when I talk about it, it's less loud.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That's it.
All right. All right. Let's do a lineup because I can't, and I'm gonna be jonesing tomorrow. So I gotta live vicariously through one of us.
One of us.
Well, since the LEC is the only thing we can do at the moment, it looks like, do we just want to stick with that?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me get everything up onto my screen.
Okay, well, Michael's doing that, and I did miss the LEC portion. I'm sorry for being late. I had something come up.
Unforgivable.
You've got your PayPal on the screen, man.
Oh, do I? Oh.
Yes.
Huh. We should probably cut that part of the video out then. I'll do that. Actually, no, I don't think it's going to show up on the screen. You guys saw it, but it's not showing up on the Discord. Like,
okay.
We're fine. We're fine.
All right.
But good. You have to stop looking at it. Stop looking at it right now. I'll just stop streaming real quick. There we go.
And while Michael's getting that adjusted, I kind of just wanted to talk about G2 because I haven't been watching League because I've been in bumfuck nowhere, Ohio, and I was in a wedding last week. So, what's up with G2? What's going on with them?
Yeah, just classic G2 shitting around stuff. It's fine. It's fine. We're not worried about it.
Should we be concerned? Nah. Should we be concerned?
No, but I did say that I think that they should just call it Vitality, get self-made.
Trade Yankees for self-made. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned in the sense that, like, I don't think they're as good as they were or as dominant as they once were in the past. But, like, am I concerned in, like, are they going to make the playoffs in LEC? No.
Yeah,
I mean,
all right.
They are 4-5 on a 4-loss streak right now.
So everything's on the screen. Every time that I click something on this screen, it's going to make me click Discord again. So let's try to get the stack figured out before I start clicking on stuff. In the first game, Schalke against SK, where did we end up on that? You liked the SK side, I liked the Schalke side, and then we said that SK was probably the better side if they won, but I don't think we want to put that in as our lineup. We're going into the big one, by the way. $10.
Oh, okay.
First.
I like that.
So this will be a
all
GPP,
right, so that kind of changes the thinking on this one, I think.
Oh, we're 4-stacking Astralis here, right?
We're not.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's a hard pass for me.
Damn it.
So XL against Mad Lions, I could see that.
So, yeah, I want to play one side of this lineup, or one side of this game in this lineup, I think. Obviously, the XL one gives us higher winning chance, or higher, or lower ownership, but Mad, I think it's obviously a good play as well.
Yeah, so, okay, so do we want to pair Mad with Vitality, Fnatic, Rogue, Misfits, or G2? What do you guys think? Which one would you can each pick one and we'll talk about it.
just looking at the salaries, it looks like Fnatic might be the one that works the
Well,
best.
we could definitely pair them with Vitality and Misfits. It's just, do we think they're actually going to win?
No, I don't.
So you're telling me that you just had a kid, and your first slate back, where we're doing the bankroll challenge, we're not going to do Mad Lions and Misfits?
We're not slamming our boys at the top of the fucking standings, the Misfits?
You're telling me that these losers
now-
are going to lose to a Fiddlesticks again? I don't think so. I think that we're getting Misfits following through to win us
Okay.
a bunch of money
All
in
right.
first place.
I'm becoming convinced all of a sudden, but I'm just concerned that Misfits ownership is going to be like still too high. But maybe they're not, because like people hate Misfits. Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's go Mad Misfits. I love it.
All right,
I'm
so
in.
we're doing
I'm
Mad,
very in.
Mad as the primary stack, right?
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, so Mad Lions. Are we gonna take? I think that we probably do want Carzy to be our captain if we can fit it. So we should try that one first, because like, if they get the early game lead and just continuously dumpster XL, it'll probably be happening in the bottom lane. Hopefully XL doesn't like just completely give away the game. You know, that would be super tilting to watch. So we're definitely going to take Carzy. We're definitely going to take... Actually, we should do this. Man, the screen's going to go crazy now on the recording. So which... Yeah. I think that if we want to get the highest upside players from Misfits, I think that we could just go for Hybrid, and then we would get
Jungler.
Copy.
Razork.
Well, we would get if we just do a normal stack.
Yeah.
If we do a normal stack.
Yeah.
So let's.
I like that.
Let's see what that looks like.
And then we put
Carzy,
Misfits in the team slot.
Elyoya, Humanoid, Mad, and then we don't have enough, so we can switch that out. So if we go from Elyoya to Razork, then we do.
We could play Schalke in the team slot.
We could.
Oh, we have Misfits in the team slot.
We could play Schalke in the team slot, or we could switch. No. Because now it's a 3-4. Do we want a 3-3-1?
Right.
I think the Misfits team slot would be good if they actually did end up winning. You know.
Yeah, I could see that too. Yeah, because they're probably gonna have to get a few objectives.
We should probably out the one spot. So this, I think that this is an okay place to start. The other way to do this would be what you were saying. If we took out Kabe, put in Elyoya captain, then you get Carzy, and then you have 4,700 left. So then we would need
Misfits.
Yeah, we could use
slot.
Misfits or Vitality. I think both of those are fine. So that's a couple different ways to go and make that work. So what do you think? Would we rather have the double ADC composition or the double jungle captain?
I mean, I would kind of like the jungle situation because they seem to usually put Razork on a carry type champion, and Elyoya can basically play Diego.
Okay, I'm fine with that. We'll put this one in there. I just have to put in the team slot and click enter.
All right, so this is like a 33.3% repeating when we win the 5K. Is that split?
No. I'll just keep it, and you guys can sue me for it. Maybe you get maybe you get a nice little present for your baby. Maybe you don't.
We'll continue this conversation off air.
Smart.
All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to get off your chest before we go, or are we about good to wrap up?
Nah, use the damn code. Buy my kids some diapers.
That's right. If you don't know the code, it's iEdge. You get 10% off a subscription. We need to get Alan's kids some clothes, diapers, foods.
Do they have?
God
do they
knows he
have
doesn't
baby
have enough
clothing
clothes.
Do they have like Misfits baby clothing?
You know what? I gotta look into that. I bet they got it for at least like 6 month old, right? So
They
yeah,
have to.
if we win the 5K, then we're definitely getting baby Misfit stuff.
Yes, I will agree to that.
Alright. Alan's baby is already a Misfits fan. He doesn't even know it yet.
All right.
But I want to thank everyone for watching today. Good luck on tomorrow's slate, and let's go make some money.
Nice.
They do have it, by the way. I just saw it. Misfits US shop has baby clothes. We're in there. All right, see ya.
We're in.